The HOA tried to take my lake 3 times before they realized they were messing with the wrong man, and honestly, by the time they rolled a 12-ton excavator down my private access road, I was past the point of being polite, past the point of explaining boundaries to people who built their lives on top of wishful thinking. My name is Raymond Archer. I'm 61, a retired land surveyor, someone who has spent most of his adult life measuring dirt, marking corners, and settling fights between neighbors who forgot where their property ended. So when the president of the Maple Crest Homeowners Association, a woman named Linda Caro, marched onto my porch in a mint-colored cardigan with a casserole and a smile stiff as cardboard, I should have known I was about to be drafted into a war I didn't start. Back then, I'd only been living full-time in the cabin for a few months, settling into the routines my late wife and I once dreamed we'd enjoy someday. The land sat on the edge of Pine Haven Lake, 2.4 acres of wooded shoreline I bought in 1999 when it was nothing but mud, brush, and a deer trail leading to clear, spring-fed water. The road? I built it myself with rented machinery and hands that were younger than they are now. Above the ridge, where the pines thinned into perfect postcard views, the developer eventually carved out Maple Crest, 240 homes stacked along winding streets, all with lake views, none with lakefront. Not one deed touched the water. Only mine did. But Linda, with her brochures and her realtor smile, spoke to me that first day like the beach was already hers, like I was simply the newest caretaker of her imaginary community lake access. "We've always used this shore," she said gently, like she was soothing a child. "The previous owner let families come down whenever they needed. I'm sure you'll want to continue that tradition." And in my grief, in the loneliness that still hung in the cabin where my wife's laughter echoed, I agreed, quietly, foolishly, thinking kindness would be enough to keep people honest. For 8 months, I thought nothing of neighbors launching kayaks, kids skipping rocks, couples sitting on my dock at sunset. They waved. I waved back. I convinced myself that generosity was a harmless thing. That illusion shattered in December, the day I walked into the Maple Crest clubhouse with my HOA dues envelope and saw glossy renderings taped to the windows. An $85,000 community dock, 2 levels, pavilion, kayak racks, solar path lights, drawn directly on my beach, my shoreline, my land. The next morning, a laminated sign was staked in the sand like a territorial claim. Construction begins January 17th. Contact President Linda Caro for questions. So I called her. Did anyone ask my permission to build on my property? There was a pause, then a little laugh, bright and dismissive. Permission? Ray, that shore is community space. You don't own the lake. I felt something tighten in my chest. Not anger, not yet, but a cold realization that this wasn't confusion. It was entitlement polished into confidence. So I said the sentence I knew would change everything. Show me the recorded easement. She didn't have one, because no such document existed. That night, I pulled out everything. My deed, my 1999 survey, the tax records showing I'd been paying for the entire parcel for 25 years. I downloaded the Maple Crest covenants. They mention lake access, yes, but only in the vague, flowery way marketing copy does when it's trying to sell a lifestyle without actually owning the land that lifestyle requires. The HOA had nothing, and Linda had been selling nothing as a promise for a decade. So I called attorney Samantha Rios, an old colleague of my late wife and a shark in real estate litigation. She didn't sugarcoat anything. "You have a perfect case," she said. "But Ray, HOAs don't like losing. Document everything. Assume they'll retaliate." She was right. They did. January 17th came cold and sharp. I was standing at the foot of my access road with a heavy chain in my hands when the excavator appeared around the bend. Behind it followed a pickup with Caro Contracting painted on the door, run by none other than the brother of Commissioner Malcolm Caro, a county official Linda had been fundraising for. I handed the excavator operator 3 documents, my survey, my deed, and a temporary restraining order signed just 24 hours earlier. Deputy Charles Benton, a calm ex-Army deputy I knew from town, read the order, nodded, and told the crew that stepping onto my property would get them arrested. They left quietly. Linda did not. She arrived seconds later in a white Lexus, brakes screeching, voice cracking with fury. "You're destroying everything this community stands for," she yelled, fingers shaking. eyes bright with disbelief that I dared say no. "Show me the easement," I repeated, soft and steady. She didn't answer. She drove off instead, tires spitting gravel like curses. That afternoon, I locked the chain across the road and took a photo with the timestamp. For hours later, my trail camera caught Linda, another board member, and a man in a suit trying to cut my lock. Audio captured her voice, tight with desperation. "Just cut it. He can't fight all of us." They bent the bolt cutters. My lock didn't budge. I stepped out of the trees and told them what model it was. They left, but they weren't done. Within days, the harassment began. My truck was keyed, mailbox smashed, rotting garbage dumped onto my driveway, anonymous posts online calling me selfish, dangerous, unstable, voicemails telling me to get out of their town. I saved everything, every message, every incident, every timestamp. Then the county mailed me a violation notice claiming the road I'd built was public right-of-way, ordering me to remove the chain or face $1,000 daily fines. The complaint was filed by Linda and fast-tracked by Commissioner Karen himself. Except the plat they cited was from 1986, years before Maple Crest existed, long before the road was even built. It was fabricated justification. I filed a public records request. Samantha prepared for an injunction hearing. And then a journalist reached out. Elliot Marsh from the Northwood Chronicle. He'd been investigating Commissioner Karen for corruption. My story fit perfectly into his puzzle. We met in a diner off the highway. He brought a thick stack of documents. Inflated contracts awarded to Karen relatives. Maple Crest donations to the commissioner. A pattern of expedited permits tied to those donations. Bids for the HOA dock showing Karen contracting was $30,000 higher than competitors. We shared notes. Then Elliot published. The story exploded. Local Reddit threads caught fire. Homeowners demanded answers. TV news requested interviews. I went on camera and said the truth plainly. I didn't block the lake. I blocked illegal construction on private land. The narrative flipped overnight. And then came the letter that shattered the HOA from the inside out. A title investigator, Marlene Holloway, sent a notice to every Maple Crest homeowner confirming that no lake access easements existed for any of their properties, and that anyone who bought believing otherwise may have been misled by the HOA or agents involved. Homeowners panicked. Some hired lawyers. Some demanded refunds. Some demanded Linda's resignation. She responded with a desperate special meeting proposing a $2,200 per home assessment to fight for the community's lake rights. It backfired spectacularly. Shouting erupted. People walked out. 2 board members quit on the spot. The HOA fell apart in real time. And finally, they called Samantha and asked to talk settlement. But first, they had to face us in court. The courthouse felt colder than outside. I sat beside Samantha, hands steady, heart slow, watching neighbors filter into the gallery with faces full of guilt, anger, curiosity, even hope. Judge Eleanor Whitford presided. A sharp, silver-haired woman with a reputation for cutting through drama with surgical precision. The HOA's lawyer went first, painting Maple Crest as a wholesome community misled by tradition, trying to preserve family memories. She showed photos of children playing in the water, elderly couples walking the shore. She pleaded for equity. Then Samantha stood up, calm as a winter lake. She presented the original survey, the deed, the tax records, the HOA covenants requiring written consent for access to non-HOA land, trail camera footage of Linda ordering bolt cutters, an email where Linda admitted they had no easement, an affidavit from the prior owner confirming all use was merely permitted, never granted as a right. When the judge asked the HOA's lawyer whether they had any legal basis for an easement claim, the woman hesitated, then whispered, "No, Your Honor." Judge Whitford didn't delay. She ruled, "I own the land, without dispute. No easement existed. The HOA's trespass was intentional. Permanent injunction granted. Attorney fees awarded to me. Any HOA member entering my land would be in contempt." The gavel echoed like thunder. It was over. Days later, Linda Karen resigned. A new board president, Michelle Raymond, reached out. We settled quietly. $150,000 to me. A recorded notice on all deeds stating no lake access exists. A written apology to every homeowner. The HOA's acceptance of full fault. Commissioner Karen was censured. His family's contracting company lost all county bids. Investigations followed. I could have stopped there, but I didn't want victory, I wanted peace. So I created the Pine Haven Stewardship License, a revocable access program that allowed limited, rule-bound lake use under my terms, not theirs. I set aside settlement funds to establish the Archer Conservation Fund, the Archer Scholarship for Surveying and Environmental Science, a legal aid fund for homeowners bullied by HOAs. At the lake's first cleanup day, more than 100 volunteers came. Some of the same people who once hated me worked beside me in the dirt. A few apologized. One man cried, "Now, mornings on the porch feel peaceful again, not because I won, but because I built something better with the victory." And here's the question I leave you with. When a community is built on a lie, is justice served by punishment alone, or by rebuilding truth, accountability, and boundaries that finally hold?